Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with a look at the market for the week ending Friday, November 23rd, 2018. Um, as usual, let's bring up the disclaimer so that you can read that and be aware of the fact that, as I usually say, I'm not a professional investment advisor. I'm simply doing this for my own edification and for others who might care to look at it and listen. Uh, we'll usually take a look at the general market and then we'll take a look at some individual stocks. So let's begin as usual with a weekly chart of the S&P 500. And we can start by looking at the moving averages, as we usually do. And you can see that the 30 weighted moving average is above the 9 uh, exponential moving average, and that is above the 4 exponential moving average. So on the weekly chart, the moving averages are trending down, Now, last week, what we saw was uh, we had this bullish harami, this body being engulfed by this one, body of the candle. Then we had an interesting bullish candle here, but it hit support, it hit resistance at 28.20. Now, as we examine the daily chart, we will see more clearly the reverse head and shoulder pattern that since then has developed. Um, what else can we see here? We see that the market is actually all the way down at the lower Bollinger Band. It closed close to the lower Bollinger Band, which is 2 standard deviations at this time, as we have it set for this bout. So it can be considered oversold from that measure there. The other thing I wanted to point out is that right here, September 17, right in this area here, this is a weekly chart, so we don't have the exact date showing. We had the first announcements of possible of tariffs on Chinese goods, steel and aluminum. Well, since then, this is what you had, this cascade here, this falling of the market. And one might say, well, yeah, George, but that's just a correlated event. The market was going down anyway. After all, you yourself pointed out this bearish divergence here. So what, Well, it's just interesting that right after the announcement of tariffs, that you have this bullish chart turning bearish. What else can we see? Well, we have the neckline now at 28.20. We have a lot of work to get back up there. So on MACD histogram, you can see that it started trending up a little, but last week it took a dive. Now, at the bottom of the chart, I put the volume bars. You can see that we had some increasing volume here, and then interesting enough, last week, although it was a shortened week by the holiday, we had very low volume. So as Alex pointed out in his email, the market is making this new low, a double low, but the second low is on lower volume. It's hard to assess that because of the shortened week. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that assessment. Let's take a look at the daily chart. All right, on the daily chart, you could see that September 17 date here, right here. And soon after that, about a week or two after that, the market collapsed. We had a bearish divergence of MACD. This white line and this white line was a bearish divergence of MACD. That was foretelling this pullback that we had as well. Now, since then, we've had this reverse head and shoulder. Neckline is here at about 28.20. We have the head here, left shoulder, right shoulder forming. We need to see this turn around and perhaps break above the neckline. That's a long way from here. But what we also have is quite a bullish divergence of MACD on the daily chart. And as Alex pointed out in his recent email, that's not only true on the indices, but it's true on a lot of other individual stocks. As I sent you some time ago, a list of these stocks with last week, I believe, stocks with bullish divergences on the daily chart. We'll take a look at some of them in a moment. So what we have is a market that is searching for a bottom. We have the possibility of a double bottom here and on lower volume, and we have MACD, the bears getting weaker here than they were over here. So we'll see if that foretells a turnaround, at least a short-term trade. Now, before we go to individual stocks, let's take a look at a few other charts. This one here shows us the new high, new low index that Alex also referred to in his email. And what he said was that there was a bullish divergence, and you can see that here. Also, the RSI is showing us bullish divergences because as the market came down, we don't have the market on the chart here, the S&P, but we know that it dropped, and as it dropped from this level to this level, we can see that bullish divergence of RSI also. So bullish divergence of the new high, new low index, and we have a bullish divergence of RSI concerning the new high, new low index. So that's another thing that we might consider. On this chart, we can see that double bottom of the S&P on the daily chart, and the volume was falling off here. But we know that it was a shortened week, so we might not place as much confidence in that as we would otherwise. So in summary, we might say, look, the weekly chart is still trending down, let's face it. The daily chart is showing a little sign of life with the bullish divergence of MACD and the fact that it's now the S&P is now hitting the low Bollinger Band. We might get a bit of a short-term rally at least. So that's the situation. We still have this developing reverse head and shoulder. We'll see how that develops. But there's that overhead, the dark cloud of two things that most investors seem to be concerned about. One is interest rates, the possibility of increased interest rates, especially next year, and also the overhang of the uncertainty concerning tariffs. Tariffs on China is supposed to increase by 20 to 25% next year instead of 10. That could be a big negative on the market, and I think this is what I'm hearing. Most of these so-called experts are saying that that's what's weighing on the market: taxes and tariffs, interest rates and tariffs. I'm sorry. Now I sent you a list of stocks showing bullish divergences of MACD on the daily chart, and here's one, Adobe. I bought back a small position, not what I usually buy. I would usually own like 2,000 shares, but I bought 500 shares, I think it was. A small position, much smaller than I usually buy. And you can see that bullish divergence here as the market made a lower low. The MACD made a higher low on the histogram. There's a classic divergence because you had this false breakout here. Take a look at another one that I bought recently, Etsy. There is no divergence of MACD really, but I like it because you could see volume increase like hell here, like 3 times the volume when the market went up here, and it pulled back right to the 30 weighted moving average, and since then it's been giving a little uptrend again. So I bought 2,000 shares of this, and I'll hold it for a while and see how it goes. But it's been a really good one. My friend Laura, has suggested it a long time ago, and she has held it for a while. Let's take a look at another one I bought back, Microsoft. You can see that bullish divergence of MACD on this one. Market made a lower low here. MACD made a higher low. Another one that I bought was Square. You can see that bullish divergence. Another one was Workday. I said I like this one very much. And you can see that bullish divergence on Workday. I like Workday a lot. And so I bought some of that. Let's see. I also bought the S&P itself, but the SPXL, which would be the Direction version of the Direction, which is the bullish. It's leveraged by three times leverage. But I like, if the market's going to move from here, I want to be participating in the S&P, so I bought some shares of that. Not a big position, but I bought some. And surely I'm not suggesting that anyone else should do the same, buying any of these stocks, because I don't know what your situation is. And you might have different needs and different capital than I have. So you have to make your own decisions and don't depend on my making those decisions for you. Now, if the market's going to rally from here and have some kind of a rally, you would expect Amazon to do so. And of course, you can see that Amazon has that bullish divergence of MACD. Here's another one, AMAT, Applied Materials, semiconductor equipment manufacturer, where you can see that it had that bullish divergence of MACD back here, and since then it's been up a little bit, up about $4 or $5 from 30 all the way to 35 or so. Here's another one with bullish divergence on the daily chart. And we have quite a few of them. That's why I'm thinking perhaps we see a little bit of a rally from here. You can see that divergence here, right? They're in the healthcare business. There's software systems in the health information business. Now the home building business has been under pressure, but apparently we have a nice bullish divergence of MACD here on the daily chart. And since then, it's been rallying a little bit. So this is, I wonder if that's telling us something about the rest of the market. I don't know. Here's Spotify. You could see the bullish divergence. I don't own it, but it's another one of those. Here's a chart on First Data. You can see clearly that bullish divergence here. We'll see if it continues to rise. Here's Ring Central. I think it's one of those companies that makes the doorbells that will give you video, etc. I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is. And you can see that bullish divergence here. So it looks like an interesting one to watch. Here's Salesforce. I like this company a lot. I owned it up until in October when I sold it. But right now I haven't bought it back yet because I don't like this downswing here on a very heavy volume. So I'd like to see some movement first before I even get interested. What about Google? Google, you can see that divergence as usual as we've been seeing on this one as well. And if these stocks are going to start moving, the general market will move or vice versa. So take a look. Here's NVIDIA. Now, there is that divergence, not as pronounced as some of the other ones. And the fact that we had such heavy volume here on these down days, I would wait a while to get more interested in this. I don't want to buy that here. Here's Netflix. You have a divergence, but since then it hasn't done very much. So I'm not buying this here or even considering options on it. Here's Palo Alto Networks. Now you could see the divergence. And the fact that we had some nice volume here makes it more interesting than some of the other ones. On an up day, we had some nice volume. Well, folks, I think that's all we have. We usually have about 15 minutes to do this. I hope you had a very happy Thanksgiving. And I hope we have a better luck in the market this week and coming year. It wasn't too bad, but we could have done better. Have a good day.